Okay, I want to speak with facts. Like, do you have any instance where there is a place with resources that are underutilized?
Of course. Today in Kenya, the region that produces sugar, the highest,
The sugar belt. They call it the sugar belt region.
yes, is the western part of Kenya. Yeah, but today we even import sugar. Most of the companies that had names then, that occupied the space then, have died. Talk of Mumias, it's when they are trying to revive it. Talk of even Sony, talk of even Dewa is trying. Yeah, but you see that most of these areas, like most of these companies have died because they did have Chemelil, you see, because they did have much support from the government. Of course, the moment you start importing something you can produce, then it means you are not ready to ensure that you produce you produce that thing enough that can sustain your country and even export it outside.
Could that be a reason why, I don't know whether that will make sense, reason for debts every time Kenya is having a debt? What if, let's say, we stop exporting sugar and we revive those companies? Do you think we'll minimize the debts that we are having?
With the debts, I know almost every country has a debt.
Yeah.
But now the issue is, how are you managing the debt? Because you might have a good plan, you want to build a specific thing.
Yeah.
Or there's something you want to work on. But then you go take a loan. Instead of now using this money to work on what you wanted to work on, this money ends up in a few people's pockets. You get. But again, if you talk of debt, let's talk of example. You know, Africans, we are joking. Not only Kenya alone. We are jokers.
Okay.
For sure. Because we are the richest continent when it comes to resources. Minerals and resources. Even the fish coastline. Namibia has the richest. But we are the poorest.
Okay, why? It's not adding up.
Reason being, let me give you an example. We want to build SGR.
Yes.
Let's even not talk of SGR. Let's talk of something simple. We want to build roads. Yeah, we've gone to, let's say, China for loan. We want to build these roads. The moment we get this money, we want to build these roads. Again, we go back to China to get contractors who again come back, build these roads, and then take that money
back.
We used their money to pay them, but then we've remained with the debt.
So
want to tell me all these schools that train engineers, you want to tell me everybody who graduates, they are underqualified to perform these duties?
If they are underqualified, then why do we have
these schools?
And why do they prefer bringing people from maybe China? China is the most common one when it comes to contractors of the roads and many other things.
I think it's business. It is just business.
It is common.
It can be a deal to some extent.
Yeah, it's just a business. So I think the day we as Africans, and of course as Kenyans, will wake up to the fact that we need to use our own resources to build our own economy, use our own manpower to build our own roads, build our own infrastructure, use our own skills, then we'll be far much ahead. Because you see, these people, they even ensure that we are not in a position to think for ourselves. You realize that we have leaders, like all the heads of states. They are called for a summit, and then they are like sitting there being lectured. But in real sense, these are head of states with powers given to them by citizens. They should think and help us think, and of course citizens also think, and we can work together. And even personally, before we go too far from tribalism we were discussing, I would say that if Africa today would ensure that because all these boundaries we have, that this is Kenya, this is Tanzania, this is Nigeria, they were not there before. These things were drawn in the Berlin Conference then, when they wanted to colonize Africa. So if you can do away with these boundaries,
I do understand they call it a struggle and partition for Africa.
Yes. So if you can decide and have one Africa with we don't have these boundaries, and then we are Africans with the mentality of not this is somebody from my tribe, but this is an African. I'm not saying you should decide not to identify yourself with your tribe. It is so important to have identity.
Exactly.
So identify yourself with your tribe, like champion for your culture, and then ensure you use your culture and respect the other person's culture and build up something that's working out.
Now you've mentioned that just exactly the way I wanted you to bring it. Now I want to ask you a question. Getting back to tribalism, how is this tribalism thing detrimental, or how does it affect economy of a nation? Because when we talk of tribalism, we talk of different tribes that have decided to use it in a way that is not right. You understand? So how is it detrimental to an economy of a nation?
Okay. I think the first thing I'd mention is that with tribalism we have very bad politics. Because today, if I am a Luo, then we get a president who is a Luo. Even if this government is underperforming, I will support it and die by it. So like I've seen most of these governments are formed along the tribal line. So you'll realize that the tribes where these people come from, they'll defend this government even if those running this government are mismanaging the resources. That is one. And vice versa. It again also means that, for example, today, if let's say whoever is in government is not coming from my tribe, even if they are performing well, I'll like my tribe will always be criticizing what they're doing. In as much as they are really trying, they are doing their best, but you see the tribes who are not forming part of that government really criticizing.
Because that person in government is not their guy.
Is not their guy.
Yes.
So hata akifanya kazi tutapinga.
But then do you think having that notion is really affecting us as a society?
It is terribly affecting us as a society. Because then it means if I form the government and I am underperforming, I still have a voice. Because remember, for me to form the government, it means I had numbers. But then the numbers that made me from the government are still supporting me even if I'm doing the wrong thing. So it means I'm still safe. And I have a voice. Bado nikienda nisimame pale niongeleshe niseme namna hii wanapiga makofi.
But then again, you'll hear some people saying that they want to put the government on toes or on its toes. Like you've said that when those people in government, the opposition will just try to criticize whatever they are doing. But then the opposition will call it putting the government on its toes. So does it mean that it is not just that?
I know it is the work of opposition to keep checks and balances. They are not supposed to oppose everything. But they are supposed to oppose and really fight against any kind of oppression from the regime. Or any kind of excesses from the regime, among other roles. But now what I mean is not even, you should not even care about what a politician says. It is now like a community thing. You say, because huyu jamaa si wetu, he is not from our tribe. So we can't support anything he's doing, even if he's just building a road in our backyard.
But then, unfortunately, you'll realize that the people behind the opposition guys, the ones on the top, there are people behind them. They tend to understand everything they talk about. They tend to follow every word.
Yeah.
I mean, everything. So, does it mean that the opposition leaders, they are the problem? Because people behind them tend to understand them so much. Yeah, they follow them so much.
But then I don't think it's only in opposition. Even those in power, when
Exactly.
you're a ruling party,
Yes.
there is something that if you say, as just he had put it, the people who voted for you, they are quite a bigger number. I don't know whether that is applicable.
And he just
now.
mentioned that even if you are doing something contrary to what you said during your campaigns, they won't oppose it.
Yeah.
The reason is you'll find a few people might oppose, but because you're opposing na unaishi na sisi, you're opposing and you're staying here.
Yeah.
It means then you will not oppose publicly.
Yeah.
You'll just be feeling it, but then you can't talk, because if you talk, it means things might even turn chaotic.
Yeah.
You can even be kicked out of that
So I
coalition.
think I'll not say the problem is only the opposition, and I'll also not say the problem is only the government. But I'll say the problem is the caliber of the politicians we have today.
Now, I want us to narrow down to the way tribalism has affected us currently in Kenya. To begin with the first question, you find that in the various parts of the world, of the country where we come from, like for example, you said you come from that other side of the world. So let's say, for example, you have a kingpin, and maybe you are vying for a seat.
Yeah.
This, let's say an MCA. You find that you won't get a chance to vie, even nomination. You won't get that chance to be nominated if you don't identify yourself with the party that belongs to the kingpin. How is this affecting us politically right now as the youths, or as a country, or anyone who would like to join politics but is not associated with the kingpin?
It is simple. We end up getting the wrong leaders. Because you get somebody who is there to politicize it and please the master. Yeah? Please the party, please the master who is the owner of the party. Of course, you even hear some of these party leaders threaten, I'll see whoever goes against this decision. Yeah? And then you feel like, again, if you again go against the party leader, because maybe you want to be independent, you will either be called a mole, or like they are just repercussions.
So does it happen like all over, or it's just for a specific group of people?
This is all over Kenya.
Like
because every
instances?
every party have their own shortcomings. Yeah, and when it comes to nomination, you realize that in as much as parties advertise and even say how much they are democratic, there's no such a thing like democracy in these parties. Yeah,
and
very few areas.
Yes, and when you say that there is no democracy in these parties, then it means that we don't have democracy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So today, it is so bad that even the churches, like not only churches but even mosques, like our religious groups, have also turned into a kind of government puppets or political puppets, even opposition puppets. Yeah. So that today we don't have a strong religious group that will stand firm for that which is right. We have a caliber of religious groups. Majority, not all. There are some who are very neutral and very straightforward, but majority are here to eat. The moment they are given token sadaka, they are given offering. We are coming to build for you, church.
Yes.
That is how
And
they
given
turn,
promises.
and given promises.
Yes.
That is how they turn into very, very weird people. Like you even wonder if they are the real people you need to look at. Again, tribalism has cost us a lot. we've lost so many lives just as a result of tribalism.
Yeah, sure.
I told you we had Tom Mboya the other day when we were not born. He was assassinated. We have people who have been assassinated.
I do know. Okay, there is this guy. He was called Robert Uko.
Robert Uko.
Was he assassinated?
Yes, Robert Uko was assassinated. After Robert Uko, we had a guy by the name of Odhiambo Mbai, who was really championing for devolution. From there, we had a guy from Bunyala, Mugabe Were, who won an MP seat in Embakasi.
Yes.
But he was assassinated just 3 weeks after.
After elections.
Yeah, after winning. We have somebody like Chris Musando, who was assassinated just a few days to election.
Yeah.
So, if you look at it, you realize that most of these things are tribal based, or they were kind of maybe looked at as a threat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this Odhiambo Mbai, he was assassinated because of he was trying to champion for devolution.
Okay, the main reasons as to why Odhiambo Mbai was assassinated, I can say that people tend to just speak because the investigations and when somebody dies, then we let the investigative agencies do their work.
Sure.
But then the investigations have never really directed people towards the right or towards a conclusive
somehow.
But then people believe that Mbai died. The Mbai's death was political. So there are so
what
many
would
people.
drive people to believe that most of these assassinations they are always related to political? Why? What would make people to have such a notion that anytime prior to election or after election, if anyone dies, it is normally associated or related to the politics
but
things?
Then why do you die immediately after election? Anyway.
Why would you die?
Okay, death. Someone can't decide to die.
Of course, we have so many people who died. We have JM Kariuki. We have Pio Gama Pinto. Like we have so many people from different regions who died. And their deaths are believed to be political. It is so because let's talk of somebody like Arwin Skodek. There's a nice story the Satmar Productions did about Arwin Skodek.
Exactly, I know.
So Arwin Skodek, when he died, actually I think where he died, that road was named after him.
Arwin, sure.
Yeah. So when Arwin Skodek died, it was put like the information that was given was that he died of an accident. But then there were people from the then government who were heard saying that Arwin Skodek had died of gunshot wounds.
So there is conflict in
so
the
there's
information.
conflict in information.
So some say that he died out of accident.
Yes.
And some say that
actually that is what was given to the public.
So does it mean by then there was no one to actually see this is what happened, this is the evidence? Like, if something happens, like for example, let's say an accident, we have witnesses. Does it mean that during those days back then there were no witnesses?
Some of these executions are done that even you won't even have a witness in court. For example, we are discussing something that is very sensitive, but very important. For example, let's talk of the very recent one that most of us saw, or happened when all of us were there. Let's talk of Chris Musando. Just recently, 2017.
That one I was there.
Yeah, just a few days to election. Just a few days to election, right? I know there's something that still being investigated but you realize that this is a man who have been to different media stations doing interviews, and this is a man who is now in charge of the digital thing, and then mysteriously, once he has promised everybody and assured everybody that everything is safe,
it's okay.
Mysteriously he disappears and then is found dead. again, just recently in the 2022 elections, we had this returning officer in Embakasi.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. Just during that period, he goes out, and that is how he disappears. And then a few days later,
and he's never been found.
No, he was found.
He was found, but unfortunately, he was found so far away from.
From where he was.
No, that one also raises eyebrows.
Yeah. So you can clearly see that most of these things are political. Yeah. It is only that you can't point fingers.
Yeah, there is no one to question.
Yeah, but you can clearly see that it is political. I think the other thing that I would talk about is when we have tightened tribalism.
Tightened? What
Yes,
do you mean
tightened.
by that?
Like we have people really into tribalism. Then you'll realize that even development is not something we can talk about, because then we believe if it is not our guy who is doing this, then we are not party to it.
But as well, we can also talk about development, because if our guy or my guy is in government, then
develop.
So it's the other way around. If we have our people there, then we'll have it. If we don't have them, we'll even try to convince you how we've put your people there, but then try looking at it, just try gauging. You'll realize that in as much as you've put our people, maybe if you look at it carefully, majority of these people, you are just like paying back your loyalists. But again, if you look at it keenly, you'll realize that you've rewarded your people. So,
but it's talking about rewarding, being loyal. Like for instance, you have friends cutting across all these tribal groups. While rewarding, why would you just pick the ones who comes from your tribe?
Because
why can't you be diverse? What always happens somewhere in between there? You find that where I come from, I must have a chain of many people who do you call it nepotism?
Before I become who I am, for me to now appoint, it means there's a process we went through for me to be who I am now. So, let's say, for example, the president. For me to be the president, it means there's a process we followed. So then, before I even think of, I have so many friends outside, you look at who did what in the process of making me the president. Who did what? Who played which role? But that should not be the case. Of course, we should not be looking at it in a way that who did what, but we should be looking at it in a way that who is qualified for what role.
But then, why did I do that thing? Who you said that who did what? So, why did that person do that thing? You understand?
Of course, I can be supporting you as a friend.
But human nature. If you do something for me, there is payback time.
Exactly.
Then I can pay you without necessarily giving you a role or a task that you can't do. You can't perform.
What if that's the agreement you had?
Then why should I agree? Because that is where we can now actually make a mistake. I should not make an agreement with you when I know very well you can't deliver. Because everybody who goes for a competition goes there to win. So if I win and we had made an agreement, and I know very well I'm making an agreement, but you cannot perform, then it means I'm the person who is to be blamed.
I cannot perform, but I performed when I was making you.
And then something is nowadays rampant in Kenya, since youths don't have jobs, so they keep saying we learn on the job.
But how long will you learn on the job? We only have 5 years before we can transition. So actually, to me, I'd even advise, if it was me who was to advise whoever is in the government, or if we were to maybe repeal some of these sections, then I think the best, according to me, that is now my personal opinion, you now see the PSS, the principal secretaries. I think if we can get the best performing principal secretaries, I see no need of them being changed after every 5 years.
Exactly.
let them maintain, even if a government comes in.
Yeah.
We only maybe change the CSS, because of course every government will come with their own principles. But then the principal secretary to retain. For example, let's say you are the principal secretary of roads, and maybe transport sector. Yeah, you know, you are actually the person doing the administrative work in most cases. So it means even if the next government comes in, before you can allow or even advise the CS that let's start working on this road, your priority will be the roads you are working on before the government that has just maybe retired was in place. So you finish up the projects that were there first before you start others.
But then, who tells you that the president who is going to come in is going to be pleased with whatever I was doing? Because I'm not his guy. Maybe I tried to oppose him at some point. So why do you want him to retain me? Because maybe at some point I opposed him.
Of course, as a principal secretary, you should not even engage in politics. Your work is to serve.
But they do engage in politics.
So that is the worst we are doing. So you need to not engage in politics. Do your work, go back home, come do your work, go back home. So that when the president comes, it is now not if it were me. It should not be a matter of now the president is pleased with this person or not.
But then again, this one tells me that if he is going to be retained or she is going to be retained, then does it mean that they won't retire?
They'll retire. I mean, work until your age of retirement comes. You've delivered. So you go home and hand over to whoever is now coming in afresh, but then you've handed over after you've completed so many other projects.
Okay, thank you.
This issue of when this government comes, we start other projects.
Leaving the others
hanging, they are stalled. Remember those projects that we are leaving, it is taxpayers' money that was used to work on them. Some of them are still debts. So when we leave them hanging, we again start, because something like a road, of course, that is of several kilometers. You can't tell me you'll build it within 1 month. It takes time.
That's true.
So it means if we leave this stalled, and I only have 5 years to ensure I also build this road, then it means by the time I'll be leaving, there are also other roads or other infrastructure that will also be not complete. So if another government also comes, then they also start there. But it means we'll be starting, start leave.
Yes, but then you cannot build all the roads, even if you're the CS, right? So tell me, if maybe I was appointed as the CS at the age of 35 or 30 maybe. So do you want to tell me that, because in Kenya, people do retire at around 60s?
Yes.
So I will work for 30 years before someone takes it over.
Yes, of course. Today, if you are a teacher, you are employed as a teacher. You'll work until you retire.
That is a teacher, right?
Yes.
This is now a CS.
Let's talk of a doctor.
Yes.
You are hired. You work until you retire.
But you're not working for the whole nation. You are working for a specific. Maybe.
So that is why I'm saying, if it were me, it is my opinion. We get somebody who is qualified. Don't look at the tribe. Don't look at friendship. Look at somebody who is qualified. This is their sector, this is their career, this is their line of specialization.
But this someone who is qualified, maybe he was my friend, and my friend, it doesn't mean that it must be someone's friend. The person will come in after I've left.
Yes.
So this person was my friend, and I opposed this person who is coming in. So do you want this person who is coming in, whom I opposed, to retain my guy, my people?
It is simple. Look for somebody who is qualified. No tribe, no friendship. Like, even if it is a friend, but you are looking at somebody who is qualified. I mean, don't look at the tribe.
But so you must have a tribe.
Yes.
To do away with this, why can't we just say in simple language that the people in those positions should not take sides in politics?
Of course, how it is, they should not be taking sides.
But they do.
But
they do.
human nature.
Of course, you have a right
Yeah.
to also say or campaign for who you want.
So they have a right.
No, I say as a citizen of Kenya, you have your right to choose whoever you want. But then, for the purposes of transparency and for the purposes of the trust you gain across the country, why don't you just try and desist from active politics and work as the principal secretary and work if we get the qualified people. I'll just still again repeat that somebody who is qualified, somebody who is specialized in that area, let them work. And remember, even if government changes and they don't change, things will move. Let me give you an example of education, the education ministry. We have Belio Gibson. That guy has been in that sector for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And you see there's quite much progress in the education sector compared to these other sectors.
Yeah.
Because he understands, even if we are just from this other government.
Unfortunately, not everyone is pleased with the progress.
Of course, not everybody will be pleased with the progress. But if you look at it, the fact is that there's progress. In as much as we might say maybe it's a slow progress, maybe it's not where we want it to be, but there's progress. Yeah,
and progress. Well, this will be a topic of another day. Like this thing of CBC, it's a progress. We didn't have it, right? But so many people are not pleased. A number of people, not so many. A number of people are not pleased. Well, as well, there are a number of people who are also pleased with the CBC thing. I think we'll come to that.
Yeah. So I think if I may maybe take you through. What I think as a person that we should do to ensure we are done with the tribal thing, the tribalism.
Yeah.
Number one, I'll talk about tolerance. Yeah. I should understand and accept that I'm a Luo. Yeah. I identify myself and I know I'm a Luo. And I understand we have our culture. Yeah? And there are things we do our way. But I must also understand that there also exists other people who are not Luos, who also have their culture and their way of doing things. So it means even if they are reasoning,
and you have to respect.
Yes. Even if they are reasoning, when I look at it, I look at it and think it is not what a human being should be thinking of.
Yeah.
That is my opinion. But then I must respect
their culture.
Remember today, if you are out of this place, you maybe want to go buy bread. You want to look for a specific shop where it is a Luo who is selling for you to buy. Even if you want to use a mat to town, you not specifically look for a specific mat that has a driver and a conductor who are Luos for you to go to town. Utaingia gari, utaenda pale kwa shop, you just buy, and of course you'll be satisfied. They'll serve you as a Kenyan. Yeah, and you'll feel at home. So we need to be tolerant and accept and know that we are living in a society whereby we have people from different tribes, from different ethnicity, that also have different ways of thinking, different ways of doing things. The moment we've accepted to coexist and live together, then it means we'll be moving forward as a country. I can give you and tell you as a matter of fact that because of tribalism and so many things that have happened as a result, we have so many people in the older generation that even to date fight against intermarriage between one community to the other. So that today if I go home with a lady from a certain community, then my parents will not, or my guardians will not allow. They'll not be comfortable with it, or even siblings. So that they don't want their son or their daughter to get married or to marry from a specific community. You get? So we need to tolerate each other and know that we are a people, we are Kenyans. But I've said it is so important to know that you are a Luo.
Exactly.
You are a Kikuyu, you are a Meru, you are a Luya, like you are a Kisi, every. So that once you've identified yourself, you know your culture. In fact, when being raised, there are things you see working, there are things you see being done your way because you are being raised in a setup where that culture applies. But then once you've appreciated that, you again respect and appreciate that there are also other people who exist in a setup that is completely different from yours. Number 2, let us employ or give opportunities to those who are worth. Don't give a job to somebody because this person comes from your tribe, or because this person is your friend. But give this person a job or an opportunity because they are qualified and they are skilled in a way that they'll deliver. Yeah? 3, let us do politics that allow the environment of development. Politics that creates conducive environment for both business and don't like try to make your community fight against another community. You see, these things are short term.
Yeah.
In 2007, for example, we had ODM with Kalenjin, Luya, Luo, and many other communities together. They were friends. Yeah?
Before the general election.
Yes, before the general election. Today, in 2022, you realize that the elections have now again divided those who were friends. They are now like enemies.
And even in 2017 as well.
Yeah.
So this is something that is occurring repeatedly.
Yeah, because we believe that my person must be there. So when it comes to politics, we even forget that when it comes to shop I buy, I don't even care where I'm buying. When it comes to even school, I even do assignments, I don't even care which this lecturer comes from which community, or this teacher comes from which community. We forget about that. When it comes to politics now, that is where you now realize, oh, I'm a Luo. Oh, I'm from this tribe. You get?
And you see, talking of that, we do have the leaders who vie for the elections, and we do have as well the citizens who vote them in, right? So how do you want to convince me that I should not, as the who are the electorates, how do you convince the electorates that they should not vote in their people? I mean, the people from their tribes.
We need to have,
Yes.
You're still talking.
It's okay, you can just...
Okay. We need to have strict laws in place that fights against any form of discrimination. So that if you can try to discriminate against tribe, the law takes its course.
Well, that's okay. But then, that law, you know, when it comes to voting, it is me and my vote.
Yes.
Right. So, how, even if the law is there in place, you see, when I go to the ballot, it is me and the vote. I will still vote in the person from my tribe. Yes.
The law doesn't apply at that point.
Yes.
What I mean is, once we have these strict laws that ensures there's no form of discrimination along the tribal lines, then it means whoever comes in as the leader will serve everyone equally. They won't think of their tribe alone. With the mindset that I don't have to only serve my people for them to take me back. Yeah? Then it means that as Kwach, once I've seen Charles or Nyakwar Mashiti here, who became the president and he served all of us equally. Then it means next time when I'm voting, I should not look at my tribe, but I should look at a leader in a person.
And now the problem is this. You see, you will serve me after voting you in.
Yes.
So it means that I want you to convince me first before I vote any person who is not from my tribe. You need to convince me that this person is going to serve me.
Yeah. The only problem we have as Kenyans and also Africans is that most people sell their manifesto, but then they tend not to heed to whatever they give.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now we also need to change this perspective, both from the politicians' view and also the electorate's view. Let us elect when looking at the service delivery. Yeah. For example, today in Kenya, we have 4 governors who left office. If you look at their record, okay, we have several governors who left office, but there are 4 governors who left very clear record. Take of, for example, Kivutha Kivwana of Makueni.
Yeah.
Talk of Paranya from Kakamega, among others. You realize that this caliber, they are after development. But then you realize that in as much as with the level they still are under other people. So if we can get the caliber of Akina Paranya, Akina Kivwana, like people who are after development, I know there are even people who are way much more beyond them. Yeah. So if we can elect along service delivery, then we can be very far as a country. Then finally, for today, of course, I think we need to make citizens learn and understand that cultures are important, both in our own development as a nation, but also very critical. If you're not careful, culture might end up making things not work out. Yeah? And it is so sad that even the cultures we had that were making us straight have been swept away by Christianity and some of these religions. Yeah? So as citizens, we need just to understand that we need to live as a people. Let us all work hard. Let us all appreciate. When a government works, let us appreciate. When there's something wrong with it, let us criticize. But let us make things healthy. I think that is what I can say.
Okay, before we end, maybe to ask, we've talked about tribalism in depth, and our main topic was how to eradicate it. According to you, do you think tribalism is going to end any soon? More so when it comes to tribal politics?
With the current setup, with the current caliber of leadership, the truth is it's difficult. Because you can even look at it and realize that with all the freedom we have, with all the oversight bodies we have, we still have a police force invade a resident, for example, like in Nyalenda.
That's so sad.
On a broad daylight.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
Yeah? And this is something political. Not that they are thugs or they are terrorists in that area. Yeah? But because maybe they are serving a master. So the moment we realize that once you become a leader, you are a leader of everybody. Once you've elected a leader that serves everybody, and everybody should own them. Before we reach a level whereby everybody looks at the other person and sees them as a brother or a sister, and not as somebody from another tribe or from another land, then we are very far.
So does it mean that this tribalism thing, there is a possibility that it will recur from one generation to another, since right now our kids are seeing whatever is going on? Will they grow up with that notion that I am a Kikuyu, I am a Luo, we should not be in good terms with this person because of maybe my tribe or something?
To answer you, I have a friend of mine who is a Kikuyu, a lady. This lady told me that when growing up, she grew up knowing Raila is bad. Yeah? So even voting in Raila to her is a challenge.
Without any reason.
Without any reason.
Yeah.
So remember, that is something that was inculcated.
Yeah.
It was put in
at a younger age.
At a younger age.
Yeah.
So the same way today, when you are growing up, you are told you should not marry from this tribe,
Yeah.
or you should not get married to this tribe. Once you get old, you might also pass the very same
To your
descendants, kids. More so for people who maybe have not gotten the opportunity to get out of their areas, like Ushago, the villages. You know, when you get out and maybe go to schools and mingle, then you'll realize, oh, these are good people. Actually, they are not the people we are told.
Yeah.
Yeah? So it might end up going for the longest time until people realize that it is something eating us up. But the day people realize it is something eating us up, and that we should fight it all together without celebrating when the other community is suffering, then it can even end tomorrow.
Okay, Nyakwar Machete.
Yes.
Maybe your last thing you'd like to ask our guest today.
I think our political enthusiast, he has talked elaborately on this topic, and maybe we'll have another episode of this. But as of now, we can just leave it at this point. But I believe he has talked much about it. And one thing I've grasped from the guest viewers is that we need to change our mindset for us to eradicate this tribalism. We only need to change our mindset. Without that, it won't go anywhere. It will live with us, and it will continue eating us up till we change our mindset. Well, I don't know if our guest has a parting shot.
Maybe the last thing you'd like our audience to get to know.
Yeah.
I think for now, what I can tell my people is, I am your brother, you are my brother, and you are my sister. It doesn't matter where you come from or where I come from. The same way we do say, siasa zitapita tu na ujirani wetu mwema utadumu. So let us not allow politicians make us fight.
Yeah.
Let us not allow differences in politics make us fight. The best thing we can do, let us use our differences in diversities to make a better Kenya. The day we'll fight and ensure there's no tribalism, then it means corruption and all the other vices will not be there, and we'll have the best ever country.
That's a nice parting shot from our guest, who is a political enthusiast.
He's also a colleague.
Yeah, he's also a colleague here at Desert Mamba Productions. So, audience or my viewer and listener, remember you are listening to Desert Mamba Production, where we prioritize your interest. Our topic of today was eradicating tribalism in Kenya, and I hope you've learned a lot from this discussion, and it's upon you to decide what to pick. If you want to continue with the tribalism, well and good.
Yes.
But remember, the main thing here is that this tribalism, one day, it's not going to take us anywhere, just as it has been discussed.
Yeah. And guys, just like I normally say, that please subscribe to our channels. We do have our social media handles. We are at YouTube as Desert Mamba Productions, Facebook Desert Mamba Productions, Instagram Desert Mamba Productions, TikTok Desert Mamba Productions, all the social media handles except at the Twitter.
Yeah.
You call it Twitter?
Yeah.
Yes. Twitter as @Desert Mamba P. Guys, kindly subscribe.
Thank you very much, viewer and listener, for watching us. From wherever you're watching us, you can drop a comment on the comment section so that we can know what you feel about the discussion of today. Until we meet next time, it was nice having you here as our guest and colleague, and it has been
political
enthusiasm. That is a very important point I shouldn't forget about. It was a good session, and we hope that people are going to benefit from it. If you like our discussion, just give us a thumbs up, that is, you like, and share, comment, do anything you want. Remember, here at DMP, we prioritize your interest.
Exactly.